You know, Vince Coleman has been real good for us because it's been no lie. We haven't run from it, no pun intended, but our base running has been subpar around here the last couple of years. Not just looking at guys who can steal a base, not being able to get as many as you would expect, but going first to third or scoring from second on a base hit. And when you have a guy who, you know, is as proficient as Vinny was and is able to teach, that's a real nice benefit to a club in an area that I suspect we're going to get better in.
Well, he gets the guy thinking. It's like Melky. He checked his outfield on that base and went to third base. That's something that Vinny's going to have to do. We talked about it last week. These guys are going to be much more aggressive. He just touched on it. And when you get that, that becomes contagious. And with everybody. In 1983, when the Sox started off 14-26, and we finally wound up winning 99 games, winning the division by 20. One of the big reasons was base running. They were aggressive. They got good leads with 2 out. They beat plays into second base to extend the innings. And I think that's what Coleman is going to add to this ball club.
No, I think you're absolutely right. It reinforces a lot of what we were looking for from a personnel standpoint, and now hopefully we're equipping them with the knowledge and the tools to maximize that ability that they come here with.
And this guy right here, if he stays healthy, he got a chance to be a game changer.
Micah Johnson is fun to watch. There's no doubt about it. He brings this electricity to the lineup. And he's a smart ball player, too. It's not just a one-dimensional speed guy. He puts himself in a position throughout the at-bat to adjust and maximize the results. And I just can't say enough about the effort this kid puts in off the field. You know, he obviously had the hamstring problem last year, so he goes out, teaches himself Bikram yoga this offseason because he figures his flexibility is what's going to be key to keeping his hamstrings healthy. Comes back here feeling better and running as well as he ever has. So it could be a fun one here. The key, as with a lot of guys, is just keeping them healthy.
Well, Jim told me, and I were talking the other day, and, you know, I played against Mantle, Maris, Mays, Musial. Some pretty good players, Aaron, and those guys. The greatest offensive player I ever saw was Ricky Henderson.
It's a base hit.
Yep. It just changes things around. Ricky, especially against young pitching. Okay. Now, in the big leagues today, Steve will tell you, the average age of starters today is much lower than it was when we were playing. You got young pitching out there. You put speed on the base paths, you couldn't pull a grease tee out of there behind with a pair of pliers. I mean, that's what all of a sudden that strike zone gets a little different. When you got somebody who can fly over there first base, it changes the game faster than a home run.
And Robin brought up another point with Micah Johnson. He said, first of all, with his speed, and everybody knows he's got it, everybody has to play in closer in the infield, giving him many more areas to hit the ball through. And, of course, if he gets picked off occasionally, that's a product of youth.
Well, we're forcing him to be as aggressive as possible here in spring. We had talked about we may well lead the Cactus League in stolen base attempts this year, but that's not necessarily, he might have been safe, not necessarily going to lead to us leading it during the season in stolen base attempts. We want guys to push the limits while we're down here in the Cactus League when the games don't count and you know, force the issue for themselves.
But when I talked to Vince Coleman about that issue, he says, you know, it's not only in stolen bases. He said, I want these guys, if they're on first, to be thinking third. Because obviously scoring from third is a lot easier than scoring from second. And he said, this team in the past at times has been a station-to-station baseball team. He said, I look at the lineup here and I see a lot of guys able to go not only first to third, first to home, score easily on base hits, put the pressure on the defense, which is something that speed will always do. You force them into mistakes, let them make mistakes before you do. That isn't a bad pickoff. That you're not worried about.
No.
Wood has a good move. He was going on first move. He was leaning towards second base. He just got picked up. Not much you can do about that, but you don't want to take the aggressiveness away from the youngsters. And they'll learn. That's how you learn. You learn what a good left-handed move looks like by getting picked up.
Absolutely. It's a matter of arming them with the right information so they've seen it, whether it's on video or they got our times from our reports, and putting themselves in a position to be successful, to put the work in and know what they're capable of doing and what situations they need to be more aggressive and which others perhaps they need to be a little smarter. It's about having smart base runners as much as anything.
That and guys who have the ability and need the technique.
Yes.
One thing, I mean, look, Adam Eaton has had the ability to steal a lot of bases for a lot of years, but he hasn't had the technique quite yet. Vince Coleman can give him that technique.
Very true.
All he's got to do is mention the one thing, and all of a sudden, you get to click. You get to click. He gives him that idea. But you can't have that idea, as Rick just touched on, unless you... Ricky Henderson got picked off a lot. Anybody steals a lot of bases is going to get picked off a lot. Is that foul back? We're in the bottom of the second inning. Sox lead at 3-2. Our guest in the booth is the general manager, Rick Hahn. And Rick, overall, as you said, it's just, I think it's going to be just a terrifically fun year in Chicago for baseball.
Yeah, definitely could certainly expect it to be exciting on our side of town. These guys are going to be impressive over there, so looking forward to it. Should be a fun summer.
Time, buddy.
You bet. Anytime, Hawk. Thanks, Steve.
Rick Hahn, what a job he's done.
Hey there, guys. Tyler Flowers had the best year of his career in